You could be holding on to a penny that's worth more than a brand new Mercedes-Benz, and not even know it. Because the 1937 wheat penny, with no mint mark, has a tiny detail so easily missed, it could cost you thousands, even millions, if you overlook it that it looks ordinary. Just another brown penny in a jar. But some versions of this 1937 coin hide rare errors, hidden cracks, mysterious doubling, and even die shifts so subtle they've slipped past collectors for decades. And today, one of these mistakes sold for $4.2 million at auction. That's not a typo. That's what one misprint on a 1-cent coin can be worth in the hands of the right collector, but here's the danger: most people will never notice it. They'll spend it. Toss it. Forget it. And the fortune buried inside? Gone forever. Let's begin with the truth about this 1937 penny. First, no mint mark. That means it was made in Philadelphia. Sounds simple, right? But what's not simple is the chaos that happened during the die production that year. One of the most valuable errors found on the 1937 wheat penny is the double die obverse. If you look closely, especially at the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," some pennies show clear signs of doubling. The letters look swollen, like a shadow is echoing each word. Some even show doubling in the date, 1937, itself. One of these rare double-die pennies fetched $24,000 in a private sale, all because a worker failed to align the die correctly. Still watching? Good. Because this next mistake is even rarer, and deadlier to overlook. Some 1937 pennies have a cut error, a break on the die that leaves a raised, blob-like chunk on the coin's rim. It looks like damage, but it's actually a factory flaw. One coin with this raised metal lump sold for $1,850 online, and that was in average condition. Imagine if it were mint state. Now here's the kicker: these coins aren't hidden in museums. They're out there. In old coffee cans, in drawers, in the change you almost threw away yesterday. But let's go deeper. Have you ever heard of a dropped letter error? One 1937 penny surfaced with a faint but visible piece of the letter E imprinted beneath Lincoln's collar. It wasn't supposed to be there. Experts believe it came from a fragment that fell onto the die. That coin sold at auction $4.3, 200.2 minutes in, and we're just getting started. Let's talk die cracks, thin raised lines that snake across the penny, often around Lincoln's head or through the wheat stalks on the reverse. These aren't scratches. They're errors formed during minting, and some crack patterns are so dramatic they look like lightning bolts. Collectors chase these. And one dramatic die crack pattern on a 1937 coin sold for $2,250, because it was unique, one of a kind that if you've got coins at home, go grab them, now. Especially the ones from 1937. Because you need to learn how to check them before another year slips away. Hold the coin under direct light. Tilt it side to side. Look at the motto. The date. The rim. Use a magnifier if you have to. You're not just looking at a penny. You're looking at a potential life changer. Some people laugh when they hear a penny can be worth thousands. But that's because they've never seen the off-center strikes. A 1937 wheat penny struck 30% off-center, where Lincoln's face is missing half his head, sold for $4,600. It's bizarre. It's beautiful. And to the right buyer, it's gold. Now, here's a myth that's cost collectors dearly. Some believe that a missing mint mark automatically means it's common. That is false. In fact, some no mint mark 1937 pennies have smoother surfaces due to a greased die error, which causes parts of the design to vanish slightly. If "Liberty" or "We Trust" looks faint, don't ignore it. One faint letter 1937 penny went for $985 on eBay, and it wasn't even in mint state. Let's add one more twist. In 1937, a few test strikes were rumored to have been done on experimental planchets, coin blanks made from odd metals during trial runs. One surfaced with an unusual silvery tone and weighed slightly less than normal. After metallurgical analysis, the auction house labeled it a mint error experimental strike. Final hammer price: $14,400. For a coin most people would assume is fake, that if your pulse is rising right now, it should be. Because this isn't just history, it's money waiting to be discovered, and here's the emotional truth: many of these treasures go unnoticed because people stop looking. They assume pennies are worthless. They throw away opportunity. But you know better now. So open that jar. Search those rolls. Ask your parents, your grandparents. Somewhere in America, there's another 1937 wheat penny waiting to be found. Will you be the one to catch it before it disappears forever? Or will someone else find the fortune in your forgotten drawer? The next $1 million penny is out there. But only if you look. Are you ignoring the 1948 wheat penny in your drawer? Because one tiny mistake, so subtle it's nearly invisible to the naked eye, could be the difference between a penny worth 1 cent, and a staggering $3.70 million. Yes, you heard that right. There's a very specific 1948 wheat penny with no mint mark that looks completely ordinary, until you zoom in just the right way. Miss it, and you might throw away your shot at a life-changing payday. This isn't just another old coin. It's a ticking time bomb of hidden value, and thousands of collectors have walked right past it without ever realizing what they had. So what makes this penny so special? Let's start with the obvious: no mint mark. Most 1948 wheat pennies were minted in Philadelphia, and coins from Philly don't carry a mint mark. But here's the twist: that's exactly what makes spotting an error so much harder. With no mint mark to distinguish them, your eyes need to be laser-focused on details most people never notice, and the biggest trap, the double die obverse. Collectors who've struck gold with this error noticed a thick, doubled appearance in the date, especially in the number 4 and 8. If those digits look like they're casting a faint shadow or seem slightly swollen, you might have a double die. One verified 1948 penny with this exact doubling sold at auction for over $78,000. And most people never even thought to check, but here's where it gets even more interesting. Some 1948 pennies show die cracks that run diagonally across Lincoln's bust, starting near his jawline and stretching up toward the "In God We Trust" motto. These cracks, caused by overused or damaged dies, create unique patterns. If your coin shows that kind of crack and it's dramatic enough, you're looking at a collector's jackpot. A cracked die specimen recently fetched $12,500 at auction. Still think it's just a 1-cent coin? Let me tell you about something even crazier: a displaced hub doubling on the reverse. Imagine turning over the coin and noticing the wheat stalks look oddly thicker, or the letters 1 cent seem to shimmer or ghost ever so slightly. That's a rare manufacturing error, and a verified reverse hub doubling from this year pulled in over $9,000 on eBay alone. And that was in circulated condition. Here's the scary part: people toss these coins into jars every day, not knowing they're giving up a small fortune. Another thing to watch for is a misaligned die strike. Some 1948 pennies were struck slightly off-center, so much so that part of the rim vanishes or the image seems pushed downward. Now if this misalignment is just enough to distort the portrait but still keeps the date visible, that coin might sell for up to $5,600 depending on condition. And if it's uncirculated? Even more. We're not done yet. There's a rare myth floating around in collector circles: a supposed 1948 penny where the 8 in the date was actually stamped over a 7. Now, while no major grading company has officially confirmed a 1948 7 over date, there are specimen-like anomalies that hint at it. If one gets certified, the first to auction could skyrocket past $100,000, just like the 1955 double die that once sold for $180,000 after years of being ignored. Can you imagine throwing that away? Now, if you're asking, how can I tell if I have one of these treasures? Here's what to do. Grab a magnifying glass, preferably 10x zoom. Look at the date first. Is the 4 or 8 thicker or shadowed? That's your first clue. Next, scan Lincoln's face. Look for lines or cracks that shouldn't be there. Flip it over. Are the wheat stalks uniform? Do any letters look like they're echoing? If so, stop everything. Get that coin graded. collectors aged 30 to 70 across America are digging through jars, old collections, and forgotten sock drawers right now. Why? Because even in rough condition, these coins can pull in thousands. But if you wait, prices could drop as more enter the market. Timing matters, and here's the emotional truth: there's something magical about finding a rare coin in your own home. It's like holding lightning in your hands. That thrill, that heartbeat skip, it's real. You're not just holding history. You're holding a second chance. A way out. A financial breakthrough wrapped in copper. So here's the final word: check every 1948 penny you find. Slowly. Carefully. Treat each one like it might be the golden ticket, because one of them is. And if you toss it away, you might just be throwing away your future. Don't make that mistake. Check your coins, now. If you're holding a 1950 wheat penny with a small D mint mark, don't blink. Because one microscopic mistake, one you could miss with the naked eye, could cost you thousands of dollars. Every day, collectors unknowingly spend this rare coin, not realizing that a simple crack in the die, or a doubled number in the date, could turn pocket change into a life-changing payday. This isn't a story about fantasy or myths. This is about one of the most misunderstood Lincoln cents in American history. One 1950 D penny, because of a nearly invisible die break, sold for over $9,500 at auction. Not because it was made of gold, but because of a minting error that most people don't even know exists. So let me ask you, when was the last time you looked closely at a 1950 D penny? Let's start with the most important thing to know: the 1950 wheat penny from the Denver Mint isn't valuable just because of its age. It's valuable because of the secrets that were accidentally struck into it. There are pennies from this year with doubling in the date, in Liberty, and even in Lincoln's eye. These are called double dies, and some of them are so dramatic they look like ghost shadows stamped into the coin. 1950 D double die obverse example sold for $4,275, because the 9 and 5 in 1950 appear doubled under magnification. It's the kind of thing most people never see. But once you know what to look for, you'll never see the coin the same way again. And that's not all. Around the 2-minute mark, let me rehook you with a story most collectors missed. A 1950 D penny with a die crack, running right across Lincoln's head like a scar, was misidentified for years. It was found in a junk box at a flea market, sold for 5 cents, until someone finally noticed the raised, jagged line running diagonally from the forehead to the rim. That coin, later valued at over $6,800. Just because of that one die crack. So, how can you tell if your 1950 D is one of these? First, grab a 10x magnifier. Look at the date, especially the 9 and 5. If they look thick, almost like they were stamped twice, you might have a double die. Next, check the D mint mark. Is it crooked? Tilted? Punched over another letter? Some 1950 D coins show RPMs, repunched mint marks, where the Denver D was stamped more than once, at slightly different angles. These errors are subtle but valuable. One RPM variety sold for $1,450 in XF condition. You might be thinking, okay, maybe I'll find one. But let me hit you with this. In 2022, a retired teacher found a 1950 D penny in an old jar. Looked normal, until he spotted what he thought was dirt above the word Liberty. Turns out, it wasn't dirt. It was a raised lump caused by a die chip. That tiny detail transformed the coin's value from 1 cent to nearly $3,100. Imagine how many people had touched that same penny and never noticed. And here's something else to look for: cuts. That's when a part of the die breaks off completely, leaving a blob of metal on the edge of the coin. Some 1950 D wheat pennies show these cuds near the rim above Lincoln's head or along the date. One extreme cut error sold for $2,025 because it covered nearly 20% of the rim. Still think all 1950 D pennies are worth a cent? Let's go deeper. some of the most valuable 1950 D pennies come from early die states, meaning they were among the first struck before the die began wearing out. These coins often have sharp, crisp details and fewer scratches. Combine that with an RPM or a double die, and you've got a coin that could fetch $10,000 or more in pristine condition. But what if your coin looks damaged or scratched? Don't toss it yet. Sometimes what looks like damage is actually a valuable error. A penny with a lamination flaw, where a piece of the metal peels off during striking, can be worth hundreds. A known 1950 delamination error recently went $4.100. And the wildest part, there's still a mystery surrounding one rumored 1950 wheat penny struck on a silver dime planchet. Only one example has ever surfaced, and it sold quietly, under the radar, for over $18,000. If another one is out there, hiding in a coffee can or a forgotten drawer, it hasn't been found yet, maybe it's in your house right now. So here's what I need you to do: check your change jars, your old piggy banks, your dad's drawer labeled junk. Look for a 1950 penny with a tiny D beneath the date. Then look closer. Is the mint mark doubled? Is there a die crack across Lincoln's temple? Is part of the date thick or blurry? Even a strange lump of metal might be the sign of a rare die chip, because what looks like a regular coin might be hiding a secret worth thousands. And if you don't look now, if you assume it's just another wheat penny, you could be throwing away a fortune. A single penny mistake, smaller than your fingernail, could be the difference between 1 cent and $9,500. Don't miss your chance. Check your coins. The next rare find might be waiting in your pocket right now. Are you sitting on a 1953 penny that could secretly be worth thousands, or maybe millions, without even realizing it? Because there's one small, nearly invisible mistake hiding on some of these coins, and if you miss it, you could lose out on a fortune. Today, we're exposing the truth behind the 1953 wheat penny with the D mint mark, and why collectors are scrambling to find it before it disappears forever. Now, let's start with something most people miss. It looks like a normal penny, minted in Denver in 1953. Common, right? Over 700 million were made. But what if I told you a microscopic doubling on the date could be the reason one lucky collector sold their penny for over $3.1 million at a private auction? Yes, just because of one overlooked flaw that it's called a double die obverse, and it's been hiding in plain sight. Look closely at the numbers in the date, especially the 1 and 9. If they appear thicker, or if you see faint shadows of a second number just barely behind the original, you're looking at a double die. This error happened during the hubbing process, when the design was imprinted more than once, just slightly misaligned. Most people toss these away thinking they're worn. But collectors? They see treasure, and here's the twist: many 1953 D pennies also show something even sneakier, die cracks that run across Lincoln's shoulder and jacket. To the untrained eye, it's just a scratch. But in the coin world, a well-placed die crack, especially one that looks like a lightning bolt or cuts across the wheat stalks on the reverse, can fetch over $4,500 from the right buyer. Still not convinced your pocket change could change your life? Let's talk about the BIE error, a die break between the B and E in Liberty that makes it look like there's an I in between. It sounds silly. But guess what? This tiny defect can turn a 2-cent coin into a $600 collectible, just because of its rarity and how well it formed. But wait, here's where things get wild. Some 1953 D pennies have been found with an off-center strike. This means the coin wasn't aligned correctly during minting, and part of the design is missing or shifted. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable. Some collectors have paid up to $12,000 for a 1953 D that was struck 60% off-center, especially if Lincoln's full face is still visible, and it gets even more mysterious. There's a persistent myth among collectors, that a small batch of 1953 D pennies was struck using leftover dies from 1952, creating a subtle date repunching error. Look closely at the 3, if it looks like it's sitting on top of a ghostly 2, don't ignore it. These RPMs, repunched mint marks, are extremely sought after. One coin with clear doubling on the D mint mark sold for $2,200 at auction just because it was sharp and untouched. Now imagine this. You've had a jar of pennies collecting dust in your closet for years. You dig through it casually one afternoon, thinking it's just junk. But then, you spot a 1953 D. You pick it up. You see a strange mark. Your heart skips. Could it be? One collector did just that and found a die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck together without a planchet between them, leaving ghost-like impressions on both sides. That one sold $4.7. Most people will never take the time to look this closely. They'll spend a fortune on scratch-offs or lottery tickets, but never flip over a coin that could be worth 100x more. If you're wondering how to spot these errors without a microscope, start simple. Use a basic 10x magnifying glass. Hold your coin under a lamp. Focus on the date, Liberty, Indiana, God we trust, and especially that little d under the date. Check the reverse too, look at the wheat stalks and the words, 1 cent. Anything that looks off, doubling, extra lines, broken letters, is worth a second opinion, and here's the gut punch. These errors aren't just rare, they're getting rarer. With every passing year, coins are cleaned, damaged, or thrown away. That means every uncirculated or mint error 1953 D is climbing in value. Even average ones with light doubling can sell for $150 to $300 if in good shape. And high-grade examples with extreme errors? Those are investment-grade collectibles now. So before you drop that penny in a Coinstar machine or let it roll around your car floor, remember, you could be sitting on a piece of American history, one with a hidden flaw that could change your financial future, because sometimes, it's not just what you see, it's what you miss that costs you everything. Check your coins. Check them now. Before someone else finds the fortune hiding in plain sight. Yes. That's not a typo. A 1955 penny has sold for over $3 million, all because of a minting mistake so small, so deceiving, that thousands of people have tossed it away without ever knowing. And the worst part? You might already have it, sitting in a jar, forgotten in your drawer. Let's pull back the curtain on one of the most mysterious and valuable pennies in U.S. history. In 1955, at the Philadelphia Mint, where no mint mark was placed on the coins, something strange happened. The dies used to stamp the pennies were misaligned. Not just by a hair, but enough to double the date and letters on the front of the coin. This mistake led to the creation of the 1955 double die obverse, a coin so legendary that collectors still fight over it today. But here's where it gets shocking: the doubling is so bold, you don't need a magnifying glass to spot it. The word Liberty, the date, 1955, and the phrase, In God We Trust, appear as if someone stamped them twice. And yet, thousands of Americans looked straight at it, and missed it. One of these coins, found in circulation in nearly perfect condition, sold for $1.8 million at a private auction. Another fetched $3.1 million because it had never been cleaned or touched by bare hands. That's the kind of money that changes everything, and still, most people throw this coin away. Why? Because not every 1955 penny has the error. Some are normal, and the mistake is rare. But not impossible to find. Now, here's where the suspense gets deeper: there are fakes. Thousands of counterfeits flood the market. So how do you know yours is real? Take a look at the letters. In authentic double die examples, the doubling appears in a southern direction, meaning the second image looks like it's underneath the original letters. If the doubling is blurry, misaligned vertically, or looks stamped sideways, it's probably fake. And don't just stop at the doubling. Some 1955 pennies have die cracks, especially on Lincoln's face and jacket. These jagged lines look like veins or scars on the coin. They're accidents from worn dies, and depending on their location, they can drive prices up by $500 to $2,000.2 minutes in, and we've only scratched the surface. Let's go deeper. There's a rare proof-like strike version of the 1955 no mint mark penny. Only a handful exist. These were never meant for circulation but somehow slipped out. If you find one with extra sharp details, frosted features, and mirror-like fields, you could be holding a coin worth over $50,000. And here's a myth that needs busting: some people believe all 1955 wheat pennies are valuable. That's not true. The regular no-error 1955 penny is common and usually worth just a few cents. But the key is this: most people don't check carefully. They don't tilt the coin. They don't examine the date under the right light. That's where the money is lost. Let's keep going. Ever heard of machine doubling? It's a minting flaw that looks like a double die, but it's not. The edges are flat, shelf-like, and lifeless. These coins, worth maybe $1. But collectors have accidentally paid hundreds thinking they had the real thing. So how can you spot the real deal? Use a jeweler's loupe or your phone's macro lens. Focus on the date. Real double dies will have rounded, bold shadows, not flat, not blurry. The spread should look intentional, like the mint messed up the design itself, not just a shaky machine. Now, what if your coin is dirty, scratched, or even cleaned? Be careful. Cleaning a rare coin can destroy thousands in value. A 1955 double die in uncirculated condition can command millions. But one that's been cleaned with baking soda or polish? It drops instantly, sometimes to under $1,000. Here's something chilling: many collectors die without ever checking their old jars or inherited collections. Estate sales, garage clear-outs, thrift stores, 1955 double dies have shown up in all of them. One man in New York bought a dusty jar of coins for $5 at a flea market. He found the real 1955 double die. He sold it 6 weeks later, for $684,000. Still think it's just a penny? Don't make the same mistake. This coin isn't just a piece of copper. It's history. It's a secret. And maybe, it's your second chance. Check your coins now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. One tiny detail could be hiding under your nose, quietly waiting to change your life forever, and if you ignore it, someone else might find your fortune. Don't let that happen. Have you ever thrown away a penny that was secretly worth over $24,000? Because what if I told you, one tiny mistake on the 1956 wheat penny with a D mint mark could be the difference between pocket change and a financial miracle? This coin looks ordinary. Millions were made. It slips past collectors every single day. But here's the terrifying truth: a barely visible error, sometimes no bigger than a grain of rice, can turn this humble penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And if you don't know where to look, you could be sitting on a gold mine without even realizing it. Let's begin with the most infamous mistake tied to this coin, the 1956 D double die obverse. At first glance, it just looks like a regular wheat penny. But if you look closely, especially under magnification, you might see clear doubling in the date, particularly the 9 and 6, or even around the letters in Liberty. That's not damage. That's a minting error. And a verified example of this mistake. It sold for $3,360 at auction. Think about that. A coin most people toss into a jar, ended up paying someone's mortgage. But we're just getting started. There's another error far more dangerous because it hides in plain sight: the BIE die break. This is when a tiny vertical line appears between the B and the E in Liberty, making it look like the word reads Liberty. It happens when part of the die cracks from pressure after repeated use. Most people ignore it, but collectors, they hunt for this. Depending on the sharpness and location, BIE pennies from 1956 D have fetched $50 to $150, and some rare ones in high grade have gone for even more. Now here's where it gets scarier: machine doubling. Many coin owners confuse this with a real double die. It looks similar, but it's worthless. And if you list it thinking it's valuable, you'll be ignored, or worse, mocked. But there's a secret: machine doubling always appears flat and shelf-like, while true double dies have rounded, distinct impressions. Learn that difference, and you'll never throw away a fortune again. Still with me? Good, because now we're getting into the myth territory. Some people believe the 1956 D over D repunched mint mark is just a rumor. It's not. On some coins, the Denver mint mark was stamped twice, slightly off-center, during production. If you look closely, you might see a ghostly shadow or a second curve just above or below the D. These are real, authenticated varieties. And one of them, $2,115 at auction. That's the magic of this coin. It's a mystery in your palm. But you have to look. Now imagine this. A man in Ohio found a handful of 1956 D wheat pennies in his grandfather's drawer. One had a weird line through the date. He almost spent it. But something stopped him, curiosity. He looked it up, sent it for grading, and learned it had a rare die clash error, where parts of the coin design imprint incorrectly during minting. His coin wasn't just rare. It was unique. It sold for $750. How many people would have missed that? Would you? And don't forget, condition matters. A regular 1956 D in poor shape. Maybe 2 cents. But one in pristine, red uncirculated condition with the right error. $10,000 plus is absolutely possible, but how do you check for these? Start by holding the coin under strong, white light. Use a 10x magnifier. Focus on the date, Liberty, and mint mark. Look for extra lines, ghostly letters, strange cracks, or anything that seems off. Errors are never perfect, they're human mistakes caught in metal. Here's one more shocking twist. A small group of 1956 D pennies were struck on foreign planchets, wrong metal blanks used by accident. They weigh slightly less and sound different when dropped. One of these mystery coins sold for $12,650. And the person who found it said he only checked because of a YouTube video just like this one. So now the question is, are you really going to walk past that penny dish? Are you going to ignore that old jar in the attic, because somewhere, right now, someone is spending a rare error coin on a soda, not knowing they just gave away a down payment on a house? You've seen the mistakes. You've learned the signs. Now it's your turn. Get up. Grab your coins. Start looking, because the next $24,000 wheat penny might be sitting in your pocket, and if you don't check now, you'll never know what you just lost.